Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome once again to another lovely day and a very interesting video up ahead. Remembering this, that there's nothing new under the sun, but every sunrise is beautiful. The subject for today is forgiveness. I had a conversation with a dear friend about forgiveness, and it's been a reoccurring conversation over time. And I'm going to name this forgiveness, and in parentheses I'm going to call it agency. Because one of the things that I think are really important when you consider the subject of forgiveness is agency, and that we all should have control and responsibility for our own lives, independently of other people. I would like to say on the outset, please like this video now while you're thinking about it, and almost as important, or more importantly, please start sharing these videos if you think they're helpful to other people. The idea behind these videos is simply to create conversation with you and with other people so we can talk about these issues. It's not that I'm qualified to solve these problems, but I am qualified to bring these issues up out into the open and expose them. The more that we can expose falsehood or weakness or things that bother us, the more that we can come together and understand each other and make it a better universe, raise the vibration according to some philosophies, whatever that means to you. That's my goal. So as you move your way through life, forgiveness is looked at through a different lens. Like in the beginning of life, conscious, like busy life as a teenager, and you're preparing for life, and you're learning how to relate with other people of the opposite sex, your friends, your family, finding your place in the world, whatever that is at the time. You don't really have a lot of time to think about forgiveness, and I mean, you do have some grudges, and you have politics, and you have social things that you have to work around, but you don't really have time to sit around and think about forgiveness. You don't think about it, you don't think about its influence on you or its long-term effect. And then the next phase of life hits. You have a job, you have responsibilities, you have lots of pressures, you get married or have a serious relationship, then kids enter the scene, and these things that maybe should have been brought out and talked about are kind of swept under the rug, and maybe not even intentionally, but because you're very busy. I mean, life is very busy. People lose relationships, lose direction during this time because they're focused myopically on raising their kids, which is super fun, and I can't recommend it highly enough. But at some point, that's over or becomes easier, and the kids become more independent, or your life lets up just a little bit. You start looking more circumspectly, and then some of these issues, traumas or feelings that are deep inside you, start to come up to where you have to deal with them, or you have the energy and the mindset to deal with them. Your brain allows them to bubble to the surface so you can take a look at them and maybe live a little bit happier life and use that information to help the person behind you. In old age, sometimes people don't like to deal with it because it's just too much hassle. You got to the point in life where, hey, I've done most of what I'm going to do in your mind, maybe, and I've raised kids, I have grandkids. I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to ripple the water. I don't want to burn any bridges. I don't want to do things that upset the apple cart. Let's see how many of those I can throw in there at once. This in no way can be an exhaustive look at forgiveness or even trauma or anything. It's just a way to get the conversation going. And one thing that we can all, I think, agree on is that when there's a trauma, could be something simple, somebody stealing your donut when you're a little kid, or maybe a parent yelling at you when you did nothing wrong, or if that's repeated over and over again, you learn habits to adapt to these people. If the kid that steals your donut too much, you realize, I need to eat outside because otherwise I'm not getting my donut. Or if your parents are hostile to you more often than you think they should be, then you start hiding things that you do. You feel maybe even a little guilty about it depending on your personalities. Other personalities won't feel guilty at all. That as things injure us in life, our brain is designed to keep us from being hurt again. So anytime a trauma happens, we have to manually go in and analyze what to do with that trauma. Okay? So, because if we don't, then we end up going through life in a way compensating in ways, and often people will make their lives smaller and smaller. Each time they get hurt, they'll maybe make their life a little smaller. Well, I'm not going to talk to that person. Well, I'm not going to go to that bar. I'm not going to reach out at work. I'm not going to... So you get a smaller life. Other people get angry and say, I'm going to be bigger. I'm going to be better. And I'm going to everyone around me. And there are the people in between, obviously, and there are people that are actually healthy and have been raised well, and they look at this whole subject and go, I don't see the big deal. We should forgive mass murderers and psychopaths just because forgiveness is a good thing, right? Well, so there's all these variety of things, and I'm not about to say I can speak to all these. What I want to focus on today are people that are struggling inside, and maybe not consciously, loudly struggling, but you know your life is not everything it possibly could be, right? And you're at the point in your life when you're starting to analyze some of these traumas and you want to figure out what to do with them, how to start these conversations, where to go. All right. Sorry, but my short-term memory and my reading abilities are really bad, so I'm going to have to read this. So, defining forgiveness. Psychologists generally define forgiveness as a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance toward a person or group who has harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness. So we're extending this forgiveness, this clean slate to somebody whether they deserve it or not. So that's that definition. Well, I would challenge you. I would challenge your thinking a little bit to believe that that's an interesting definition, but that's such a narrow-minded look at it. In life, there's at least 3 levels of accountability. There are quite a bit more, but I'll talk about 3 main ones. There's accountability that we hold ourselves accountable. When we do something wrong or do something good, we judge ourselves and we pat ourselves in the back or don't pat ourselves in the back and everywhere in between. Then there's the effect that we have on everyone else around us, your wife, your son, your daughter, whatever. People at work that you have to relate to, that when you do something good or bad to them, they judge you. They have to judge you in order to understand what you're doing. That's what judgment is. You're analyzing what people do. And you have to deal with whatever those consequences are. They have influence. You have influence. So the last level of accountability that I want to talk about is the collective. Whatever that collective is. It can be your family, or really normally bigger than that, a community, a tribe, a society, a government, an association, in which there is judgment with that. If you break a rule within that, there is typically some sort of punishment that goes with that, to where once you serve the punishment, pay the fine, you're restored like it never happened. Now there's usually accountability that goes along with that. If you become a repeat offender, which that's a different subject altogether, but that's another level of accountability. And when you look at the top level of that level of accountability, when you serve your time, pay your fine, apologize, whatever it is, you're restored like it, within reason, to like it never happened. If you're forgiven, if you pay the fine, if you do the thing. Now, the thing to keep in mind at that level, there are certain levels where you lose your ticket. Like you do certain things that are so bad, so egregious, so repetitive, that there is no more forgiveness at a societal level. And we're not talking about emotional forgiveness. We're talking about people, the third strike, you go to jail forever and ever, amen. You murder somebody, they take your life, possibly. You speed so many times that you lose your license. You get the idea. So at some point, even there's no forgiveness, there's no road back. Most people in America are going to be familiar with the story where the Christ tells the woman to go and sin no more. And she was a harlot, and he was like, she was crying and wanted forgiveness, and he said, you're forgiven, but go and sin no more. And I am not a theologian, and I'm not trying to claim any great thing, but when you take a cursory look at that, the sin that the woman did of adultery or being a harlot, it affects nobody but her and the people she's with, and the people that were involved in it were all completely aware of what they were doing, directly involved in it. And yet, even with something that has no victim, so to speak, except for your conscience, there still is that element where go and sin no more, right? There's forgiveness, but there's also a warning and a consequence to what she had done. So she in the future could talk to people and say, I used to be this and do this, and now I'm this, thank God, or thank the universe that I do this now, right? And I'm a new person, and I'm a happier person because I don't do this anymore. And I'm not condemning or judging the actions. That's not what I'm here to do. It's not my place. I don't have any skin in the game. I love the people regardless of that sort of thing. When you bring that down to a personal level, a violation, if you strike somebody hard and it hurts them out of anger, That does something to them. If you ignore somebody, that's almost worse. If you steal something, if you are negligent in some way, irresponsible. You know, you live in a house and you never participate. You just take and take and take and take and take. Those are, I'll call them sins, transgressions, whatever you want to call them. The only way to find forgiveness for those things is to bring them out in the open, have a conversation, and decide what will restore the relationship. But in more serious offenses, if you're in a relationship with your partner and over time you violate their trust and their paradigm so often that eventually they get to where they don't love you the way they used to. They may still love you, but they don't like you. And they get to the point where they say, I can't do this relationship anymore. We need to split up. I need to split from you. There's a possibility that you could say, I'm sorry, and they would forgive you and bring you back in. But there's also the possibility you'll say that I am sorry, and they'll say, thank you, I understand you're sorry, but I am too traumatized to be with you anymore. You remind me of too much hurt. The house we lived in reminds me of all the bad, and I really need to start fresh. And it's up to us to realize that the violated person has control over their own life. You are not obligated to be friends with anyone. You're not obligated to let anyone into your life. You're not obligated to do a certain job. You're not obligated to do anything. And in one sense, life is all about you, and then the contrary is true, that it's all about everyone else. We go back to the word agency. When you have agency of your life, control of your life, it makes it easier to move forward and to forgive people in the sense of the forgiveness that I'm trying to explain here. What that means to everybody is a little bit different. But if you have agency over your life, you can give the type of forgiveness you want to give, and you can have the kind of relationship you want to have. So when I'm saying forgiveness, I'm saying one is forgiveness. You no longer harbor anger towards this person that's controlling you in your life. That's the real forgiveness that I'm talking about. The forgiveness that other people talk about is you should forgive them and allow them back in your life. You should wipe the slate clean because they're sorry. And because they're sorry, they're okay now. Or because they're sorry, they're clean now. And even if that is true, their consequences don't go away. The things that we do have consequences, and they don't go away. So my ability to forgive you has nothing to do with my relationship with you. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow, but I hope this is making it clear. And put your comments down below, and this one's probably going to generate lots of comments, so please do. I'm happy to answer them. I don't claim to know all the answers, and I know that certain religious perspectives, people are going to be very strong feeling about this and what this means. So there it is. So taking a swipe at that one more time. So I forgive the anger against you for hurting me, for hurting somebody I know, and I'm going to let that go. I have no control over this person's happiness. If they feel guilty and they come to apologize to me, what is it they're doing? Are they helping me forgive them? They violated, hurt me, I lost a child. Drunk driver. Drunk driver, I am so sorry that I killed your child, it was unintentional. I can say, I forgive you, but from the driver's position, it doesn't change anything. My forgiveness changes nothing in them. It makes them feel better, but the event still happened. How does that change anything? It doesn't change anything. So if a father or mother smacks a child often and frequently, or even controls them at a subtle level, saying, well, good people don't do bad things. Good people don't do bad things. You did a bad thing. Good people don't do that. And they grow up with this paradigm all the time, and they happen to be a mischievous person that likes conquering things, that's going to affect them very deeply. Somebody extremely competitive is going to be annoyed by that. And I have personal stories where I can tell you certain types of punishment do not work on certain types of personality, I can tell you. So if the abused person, I would say that the most restorative thing they can do as a parent that's injured a child unintentionally, trying to do what's best in their mind at the time, that is, and this was part of the conversation I had the other day, is that if the child wants, the adult wants to have a moment to where they can express these feelings to you, let them express these feelings to you. You are controlling. You stunted my growth. You tried to make me into what you wanted, not what I wanted to be. And you need to be willing to take these things on without critique and really probably not say anything, not even say you're sorry, because it doesn't make any difference if you're sorry at that level. What makes a difference is proving you're sorry by listening, not judging them, and being okay with who they've decided to be. That's forgiveness. And I don't know if I can articulate that in any great words, but as a perpetrator, your job is to get out of the way of the person that you've injured. Not coddle yourself or find some redemption saying, I'm sorry, but you can't change anything. You can't change the injury. Well, them knowing that you're sorry, that the best it can do is make them know that what you did was wrong, which they already know it's wrong because they're injured by it. So anyway, I hope I made my point. The biggest point of all this thing is you have to take back your life. You need to be honest with those around you. You need to be transparent with those you trust. You need to express to people when you feel violated and why. And if they can't make the adjustment, you need to set up boundaries. I have people in my life that every time I'm with them, they violate boundaries. And even though they don't know they're doing it, I can point it out and then I get anger in return. So I just give up. But I love them and I like being with them, so I take the boundary violations and just limit my time, and then I recover, and it's an energy sucker. Anyway, so take control of your lives, have conversations, let people that you've hurt in your life have these conversations with you. If they forgive you and then let you back, two things, forgive you, then let you back into their lives, then you are extremely blessed, right? If they decide not to let you back into your lives, what do you want? I'm going to get a little bit angry here, but what do you want from them? Do you want the best for them? If the best for the person you violated is to keep the reminder of you out of their life, then if you really love them, that's what you want for them. We're not talking about right and wrong. We're talking about what is in the best interest of the other person. I had a conversation about the last video in which a person told me that their anger is circular. You know, like it's not linear. They don't go through the 5 stages of grief and they're done. They get angry, they kind of forgive, and they get angry again, forgive, get angry again, forgive. And I'm using the word forgive. Reconcile it, get over it, put it away. And I didn't tell them this, but I mean, I feel like from my gut that it's because the person that they're trying to distance themselves from, they really care about. And you can disconnect all these emotions, you can see how bad they were and how wrong they are in this area, but if you know deep down that person really is loving and they care for you, it's going to be hard to make that split. And I'm not saying it in any way that it's wrong to make the split. I'm just saying it's going to be hard to get to a point where you understand here what that relationship is going to look like in the future and how that's going to work together. So it can be done. Life is good, God is good, the world is big, God is a big God, the universe is infinite, and we can find a way, and the universe will help us live in such a way that we can be relatively happy, despite all the stresses that we cause ourselves and other people causing us. Let's just keep pushing straight ahead and be grateful, okay? I hope this is helpful. Please share this with other people. Please like it. I love you guys so much. All the love, all the power.